Now, South Africa's first quarter employment has edged up 0.1%. That's despite mining and manufacturing sectors shedding jobs. Joining us now to unpack the numbers further is Kevin Lings, Chief Economist at Stanlib. Kevin, thanks for your time. Now, of course, I mean, there's no surprise in these numbers. We expected this. Manufacturing is under pressure. Mining is under pressure. We know why they are not creating jobs. But Kevin, we must find something to say that's nice about how the economy that perhaps gives people that little hope that there is something that's turning around. When you look through those numbers, is there anything?
Look, I think the most positive thing you could probably take away from this quarter's numbers is that at least we add in some jobs. In the quarter, we added 7,000 jobs. Over the last year, 80,000 jobs. And we have to remember those are formal sector jobs.
True.
So at least we're moving forward, and we have actually created jobs every single quarter for the last, I think it's about 19 quarters. So we're steadily making improvements. We obviously, in terms of total employment, we're still below the level we were at before the financial market crisis. So remember, during 2009, companies shed about 1 million jobs. We haven't added those back. So that's a bit unfortunate, but little bit by little bit, we're making some ground.
Yeah, but I think that's the problem, isn't it? It's little by little bit. It's phrases like stable, stayed. In other words, we're just muddling along. There's really no impetus in this economy to create the big jig that's required to get things moving.
That's right. So we're not doing enough to really spur on job creation. Obviously, government has various policies that they would point to say these encourage jobs. But in truth, that's really at the margin. And the second thing is that we tend to do a lot of things that then discourage jobs. So we're not getting a concerted or a coordinated effort. We're not making employment. We're frankly not making employment the number one goal in this country. And that applies to at every facet, whether it's government, whether it's labor, whether it's business. So South Africa needs something different, something, let's call it radical, although it doesn't have to be radical, but a new policy agenda that unequivocally puts job creation at the front, bar no other objective.
Yeah, perhaps you've got other constraints. I'm going to call for a radical jobs agenda because I think that's exactly what's required here. But perhaps before we go there, I wanted to talk a little bit about the slight improvement that we saw in construction because we saw confidence also creeping back in the previous quarter into the construction sector. Is that an important signal and sustainable going forward?
We think it is encouraging. There are a couple of indicators that suggest a better environment for construction after a difficult couple of years. So construction, as you say, their confidence levels are moving up off a low base. So it's not as if you would suggest that they are buoyant, but they're moving in the right direction. If we look at order books for most of the construction companies, they keep expanding. And it's suggesting from the construction side that there's a little bit more activity. Obviously, what we keep hoping is that government's infrastructure plan actually rolls out more aggressively and that the construction companies get buoyed by that, and then you see a broad-based increase
but
in
trouble,
employment.
Kevin, is that we've been waiting for a very long time.
A long time. So I think we've got some stability. I think we're moving in the right direction. On its own, though, we've got to recognize it would not be enough. So, because construction jobs tend by their nature to be temporary. In other words, once you've built the thing, you've finished. So we have got a lot of construction work we should be doing. We've got a lot of construction work we plan to do. I think we're making progress, but we need something else if we are serious about, let's say, creating 500,000 jobs a year. It can't just come from construction.
Okay, now to create those 500,000 jobs a year, Kevin, I suggest that we need a radical agenda. I want you to help us build this radical agenda that's required to shake up South Africa's economy to the degree that we can see employment creeping up, not just creeping up, but actually growing strongly. Something along the impact of an Abenomics, if you like, on South Africa. What would that be?
See, I think one of the things we keep missing about job creation is we keep assuming that existing business are going to be the job creators of the future. So we look at big business and we somehow in our heads think that that is where all the employment, 500,000 jobs a year is going to come from. That's just not going to happen. The reason is that business systematically every year learns how to do more with less people. That is the nature of business. They try and become more productive. So it's in business interest to produce more by using less people.
Right.
And systematically,
that fattens your margins.
That's right. Systematically, many businesses get that right. And so what we've got to think about is not existing business, but new business. South Africa doesn't focus nearly enough on startup business or on small business or medium business, trying to encourage new employers. So you need some sort of startup program. Now, we do have various programs, but I would say we need something that is radically different, that in particular focuses on the youth and giving the youth some prospect. In other words, if you are 25 to 35, what are your prospects? In our current labor market, they're very limited. But a program that says to you, if you want to look at starting a business, these are the options. The second is access to finance, so that person has a real ability to gain finance that is of a developmental nature. In other words, not a profit maximizing, and that's a key difference. When we incentivize a small business, we can't do it to maximize profit. That's what banks do. Banks give small business loans to maximize profits. It's not going to work because they're always only going to bet on the safest investment. You need a proper development agency that says we're going to develop small business for developmental reasons. We're not here to make a massive profit.
But don't you need to create or inculcate in the person who's getting the money that sense of wanting to earn more money, profit?
Sure. Of course. So I'm not saying to people that you've got to give money away. Clearly individuals have to pay it back, but the development agency that's trying to promote small business is not doing it because they themselves want to maximize profits. Then you turn yourself into a bank. What you got to say is, I as a development agencies, I'm doing this on a cost recovery basis. In other words, I don't want to lose money, but equally I don't want to make money. So the incentive for this individual is that they themselves can make money out of it.
So there's no strain on the individual who's taking on the loan. But Kevin, would this cost money? What would this cost? What would be required to change for the government to be able to put in place something that is sustainable and also something that makes the big bang impact that we're looking for?
Look, I think you've got to be willing to commit a few billion rand to this, and I'm quite convinced that you could get a private sector and a government joint initiative. In other words, it's in private sector's interest to create more businesses because obviously you grow the market base and therefore you grow the potential profit for all companies. I think it's in government's interest. So I'm convinced you could put together an organization that is jointly funded by private and public sector, that is funded to the tune of a few billion, is administered independently to try and promote the creation of businesses on a cost recovery basis. And that if you have the right mandate for that organization, I believe that you can make a significant inroad. You focus in on people who naturally have a sort of entrepreneurial spirit. They may not have all the degrees behind them, they may not have fancy data, spreadsheets, etc., but you recognize in them that they can make a success. And my argument would be, have a look at South Africa's informal sector and just see how many people actually demonstrate that ability, but they can't move forward, possibly because they don't have funding.
So Kevin, if you had President Jacob Zuma's ear, the one word you'd say to him, or 2 words, or 3 words?
I would say to him, focus on job creation, small business as the key driver of employment in this country.